Yellow color nerves. This is erector pili muscle. This one is hair follicle. This entire structure is hair follicle. This brown color one, along with this blue color outline, collectively known as hair follicle. This green color one is sebaceous gland. This brown color structure, light red color one is erector pili muscle. And this green color coiled structure is sweat glands. Here nails are missing. The sweat glands, sebaceous glands, erector pili and hair follicle. These three structures are connected with one another. Hair follicle, sebaceous gland and erector pili muscle. Hence these three structures are collectively known as pilosebaceous unit. You see, all are extensions from the surface epithelium or epidermis into the dermis. This blue color extends into the dermis and forms the hair follicle. At the same time, same sweat glands also extensions of the epidermis. Like that, these are all invaginations of epidermis into the dermis. Coming to the sweat glands. The sweat glands are also called sudoriferous glands. Because of this, the nerves which supplies the sweat glands are called pseudomotor nerves. Sudoriferous glands are nothing but sweat glands. The type is the exocrine glands of the skin. First point, because they are having duct. Simple coiled tubular glands. The only one example under simple coiled tubular glands, that is sweat glands. And based on that mode of secretion, these are comes under merocrine glands. Exocrine glands of skin, simple coiled tubular glands are merocrine glands. Location. The sweat glands present both in thin skin and thick skin, but more in the thick skin. Compared to the thin skin, the sweat glands are present more in the thick skin. Thick skin subjected to the more friction, more amount of heat is produced. This heat will come out in the form of sweating. Because of this, more sweat glands are present in the thick skin. The function of sweat glands is temperature regulation. The temperature will be regulated in the form of sweating. The developmentally, they are ectodermal in development. The sweat glands are ectodermal in development because the skin, the outermost layer, that is epidermis, develops from ectoderm. Because these are the derivatives of epidermis, these are also developed from ectoderm. In this picture, this green color structure is the sweat glands. You see, from the surface epithelium, they invaginates into the dermis and finally opens onto the surface. This is the coiled tubular gland. Once again, I am telling you, you can see the coiling. It's a spring-like duct will be present. It is the only one example under simple coiled tubular glands. Coming to the description, acini. Acini means every gland has got two parts. Secretory part is called acini, conducting part is called duct. This acini is lined by simple columnar epithelium and also myoepithelial cells. Myoepithelial cells are smooth muscle cells of the gland. I have already told you the smooth muscle cells of the gland are called myoepithelial cells. The presence of myoepithelial cells, this point is very, very important. Wherever you find myoepithelial cells, those organs are ectodermal in development. I repeat, the presence of myoepithelial cells indicates that organ develops from ectoderm. Suppose sweat glands parotid gland, and mammary gland. These are the three glands consisting of myoepithelial cells. They are ectodermal in development. The duct of the sweat gland is lined by stratified cuboidal epithelium. The duct is lined by stratified cuboidal epithelium. Coming to the nerve supply, it is supplied by postganglionic sympathetic fibers, which supplies the sweat glands are called pseudomotor nerves. The pilomotor, pseudomotor, vatomotor, these are the sympathetic fibers which supplies the different structures of the skin. Smooth muscular blood vessel, that is pilomotor, erector pili. Vasomotor, smooth muscular blood vessel is supplied by vasomotor, erector pili of skin, hair follicle supplied by pilomotor. The sweat glands are supplied by pseudomotor because sweat glands are also called sudoriferous glands. There are two types of sweat glands, eccrine glands and apocrine sweat glands. Two types, eccrine and apocrine sweat glands. These are the differences between eccrine and apocrine type of sweat glands. This apocrine also come across in the mode of secretion, holocrine, apocrine, merocrine. This is different from that apocrine. Eccrine glands are nothing but merocrine glands. Differences. These eccrine glands are small in size. Apocrine glands of sweat glands are large in size. These eccrine glands are wide in distribution, but apocrine glands are less wide in distribution. Very few areas you will find apocrine. The most important location, it is present in the skin where there is a less air. Eccrine glands are present in the skin where there is a less air. Apocrine glands are present in the skin where there is abundant air. The skin, mainly thin skin, is associated with this apocrine glands. Example, axilla, pubic region and perianal region. These are the areas where the skin is provided with abundant hair. There you will have apocrine glands. The secretions are watery secretions. In eccrine type of sweat glands, the sweat is in the form of water, but apocrine, it is a viscous in consistency. It is a viscous in consistency. These apocrine type of sweat glands, example, ceruminous glands. The ceruminous glands present in the ear. Cerumen means ear wax. The glands which are present in the ear, they will produce ear wax, that is called cerumen. Those glands are ceruminous glands. These glands are nothing but apocrine type of sweat glands. The function of eccrine glands, like sweat glands, temperature regulation. This apocrine type of sweat glands are called natural scent glands. These are called natural scent. Mainly the body odor. The body odor is just because of presence of this apocrine type of sweat glands. Usually they will produce a viscous material which produces a good smell. These are called scent glands, natural scent glands present in the body. Where there is air, those areas are associated with some bad smell. That bad smell will be prevented by the secretions of this apocrine glands. These are very, very helpful during sexual intercourse and those type of situations. These glands, some type of smell that also encourages that interest. Okay. This eccrine or merocrine type of glands, they drained onto the surface. like normal sweat glands, but these apocrine type of sweat glands drains into the hair follicle. This is very, very important. Like sebaceous glands, these glands opens into the hair follicle. In this picture, you can see these are the eccrine type of sweat glands. Like normal sweat glands opens onto the surface, but these are apocrine type of sweat glands. Finally, the duct of this apocrine type of sweat glands opens onto the hair follicle. This is hair follicle. This is apocrine type and this is eccrine type of sweat gland. Coming to the sebaceous gland. The type of gland, it is exocrine gland of skin like sweat glands, but simple branched acinar gland. Sweat gland is a simple coiled tubular gland, but sebaceous gland is simple branched acinar gland. It is a holocrine type of gland based on mode of secretion. After secretion is fully formed, the cell disintegrates and becomes part of secretion. Those type of glands are called holocrine glands. Only one example, that is sebaceous gland. The secretion of sebaceous gland is called sebum, which is oily or waxy in consistency. The function, it lubricates the skin and hair. The skin and hair always will be kept moist by the secretions of the sebaceous glands. Because of this, the hair and skin cannot be broken. They are always kept moist by the secretions of the sebaceous glands. And most of the sebaceous glands, usually they are under hormonal control. Mainly the sweat glands will be controlled by the nerves, but mainly the sebaceous glands will be controlled by the hormones, so sex hormones. Coming to the location, the most of the areas, the sebaceous glands are associated with the hair follicle in the form of pilosebaceous unit. But few areas where the sebaceous glands will be present without hair follicles. Example, lips, external genitalia. This external genitalia and lips also will be kept moist by the secretions of sebaceous glands. There is no hair follicle. The sebaceous glands are absent in the thick skin. If the thick skin present in the palms and soles meant for grip over the object or over the ground, if sebaceous glands are present, they will secrete sebum, which is oily in nature. The grip is not possible. Because of this, sebaceous glands will be absent in the thick skin. Some special names, if you take eyelids, those glands are called meibomian glands, which are present in the eyelids. Those are called tarsal glands. The tarsal glands are meibomian glands, are also a special type of sebaceous glands present in the eyelids. And Montgomery's tubercles, these are present in the breast during pregnancy. The sebaceous glands which are present in the areola of the breast, they get enlarged and forms tubercles. Those tubercles are called Montgomery tubercles, nothing but modified sebaceous glands. So these are the special names of sebaceous glands. In this picture, you can see this is the hair follicle. This green color structure is sebaceous gland. The secretions drains into the hair follicle. This is erector pili muscle. This is sebaceous gland. This is hair follicle. Three structures are always present as a unit that is called pilosebaceous unit. Coming to the erector pili muscle. Erector pili muscle. It is a smooth muscle. The band of smooth muscle present in the skin. It is ectodermal in development. Usually muscles developed from mesoderm, but this muscle develops from ectoderm location. It is present only in the thin skin, absent in the thick skin. Once again, same story. If hair is present in the thin skin, the grip is not possible. For that, no hair follicles, no sebaceous glands in the thick skin. Action, erection of the hair during emotions or in situations we are exposed to the fear. The goosebumps of the skin is because of erection of this hair. And at the same time, this erection of the hair causes squeezing of the sebaceous gland so that the sebum will be coming from the sebaceous gland because of contraction of this erector pili muscle. The nerve supply, I already told you, postganglionic sympathetic fibers which supplies the erector pili muscle are called pilomotor. Here you can see this smooth muscle is erector pili. This erector pili muscle is attached to the hair follicle below the sebaceous gland. Contraction of this muscle causes squeezing of the sebum from the sebaceous gland and also makes hair erect. These are the functions of erector pili muscle. The attachments, one end is attached to the hair follicle, the other end is attached to the dermis, other end is attached to the papillary layer of the dermis. These are the attachments of erector pili muscle. This point is very, very important. All muscles are mesodermal in development. All muscles are mesodermal in development except smooth muscles like constrictor pupillae and dilator pupillae. These are the two muscles of the iris. Erector pili, this is the muscle of the skin. Myoepithelial cells, these are the smooth muscle cells of the exocrine glands. Once again, I repeat, all muscles are mesodermal in development except smooth muscles like two muscles of iris, constrictor and dilator pupillae, skin, erector pili, glands, myoepithelial cells. Only three glands, parotid, mammary and sweat glands are ectodermal in development. Cardiac muscle, no doubt 100% mesodermal origin. All skeletal muscles, no doubt 100% mesoderm. But smooth muscles all except these three, muscles of iris, muscles of skin, muscles of glands. These are ectodermal in development. Once again, I am telling you, presence of myoepithelial cells in parotid, mammary and sweat glands indicates that they are ectodermal in development. Whenever you find myoepithelial cells, those organs are 100% ectodermal in development. This is very, very important. This is erector pili muscle. I have already discussed it. Coming to the hair. Hair is elastic keratinized thread. all the superficial cells of the epidermis they become dead and forms stratum corneum. These keratinized epidermal cells all they fuse to form a thread called hair. This elastic keratinized thread. There are two parts in the hair. The part which is present above the skin, that means the visible part of the hair is called shaft of the hair. And just above the skin we can see this part of the hair which is called shaft of the hair follicle. It is a visible part. Next, root of the hair present within the skin, and hidden part, this part present within the skin, this hidden part is called the root of the hair. The visible part is called shaft of the hair. This entire thing is hair. Coming to the root or hidden part of the hair which is present in the skin. These are the important 3 points under root of the hair. Hair follicle. This is very, very important. It is an epidermal tubular invagination of the root of the hair. The root of the hair which is surrounded by the epidermis, nothing but the tubular sheath around the root of the hair is called hair follicle. Suppose in this picture I will show you. This blue color is epidermis, invaginates and surrounds this brown color one is root of the hair. This root of the hair is surrounded by this blue color sheath. This tubular invagination around the root of the hair is called hair follicle. This is the hair follicle. This entire blue color sheath around the root is called hair follicle. Coming to the hair bulb, the lower end is expanded. This expanded part of hair follicle is called hair bulb. This lower end is expanded. This is called hair bulb or bulb of the hair. There you will have a matrix cells. They are nothing but pluripotent cells. It will form the germinal matrix which gives rise to hair. The hair develops from the pluripotent or matrix cells which are present in the hair bulb, which is expanded part of the hair follicle. The melanocytes also present here, which is responsible for that brown color of the hair or gray color of the hair, which is mainly because of melanocytes also present in the hair bulb. This dermal papillae or hair papillae, this is another term. Here you can see, this is the dermis. It is nothing but connective tissue. It is a fibrovascular connective tissue. Extends into the hair follicle. This depression, indentation, which is produced by the connective tissue of the dermis to nourish the hair follicles. This is called dermal papillae or hair papillae. This dermal papillae or hair papillae, this is the dermal vascular connective tissue into the bulb. That indentation produced by the fibrovascular connective tissue of the dermis to nourish the hair follicle. Under the root of the hair, you will have these three structures: hair follicle, hair bulb, hair papillae or dermal papillae. This entire thing is hair follicle. This lower expanded end is hair bulb. This depression is hair papillae. This is the histological picture. This indentation is dermal papillae. This is outer covering is called hair follicle. This is the root of the hair. This is entire thing is hair follicle. This enlarged part is called bulb of the hair. This is the dermal papillae. Coming to the wall of the hair follicle, I'm talking about the hair follicle. Hair follicle is nothing but epidermal invagination around the root of the hair. It has got two coats. Outer coat derived from the dermis. Hence it is called connective tissue sheath. The dermis is nothing but connective tissue. It is derived from the dermis. Inner coat is derived from the epidermis. Hence it is epidermal. Epidermis nothing but epithelial tissue. It is also called epithelial sheath. These are the two coats around the hair follicle. Outer one derived from the dermis, made up of connective tissue, hence it is connective tissue sheath. Inner coat epidermal or epithelial sheath. Coming to the inner epidermal or epithelial sheath, it has got three layers. One is the glassy membrane. It is nothing but the basement membrane which is present between the epidermis and the dermis. Finally, it forms a glassy membrane. This epithelial sheath has got two: outer epithelial root sheath, inner epithelial root sheath. Outer epithelial root sheath derived from the stratum basale and stratum spinosum of the epidermis. The outer layer develops from inner two layers of the epidermis, that is stratum basale and stratum spinosum. The inner epithelial root sheath is derived from the superficial layers of the epidermis. Nothing but the stratum corneum, stratum lucidum, and stratum spinosum, the granulosum. The superficial layers will form three layers: Illis layer, Axillis layer, and cuticle. These are the three layers which forms inner epithelial root sheath. And the deep layers of the epidermis, they will form stratum basale, stratum spinosum. Finally, this inner epidermal or epithelial sheath is derived from the epidermis. Superficial layers, inner epithelial root sheath; deep layers, outer epithelial root sheath. The cuticle interlock with the cuticle of hair that I will show you in the next slide. It will anchor hair within the hair follicle. Cuticle present in the inner epidermal sheath, it also present in the shaft of the hair. And finally, the ducts of the sebaceous gland and erector pili muscle both are attached to the hair follicle. These are the two important structures attached to the hair follicle. The duct of sebaceous gland drains into hair follicle. Erector pili muscle also attached to the hair follicle below sebaceous gland. Now, this is the erector pili muscle. This is the sebaceous gland. Coming to the shaft of the hair, this is the visible part of the hair. There are three concentric layers of keratinized epidermal cells. I already told you that hair is nothing but keratinized epidermal cells. They fuse to form shaft, which is surrounded by three concentric layers of keratinized epidermal cells. The innermost part is medulla. Next, peripheral part is called cortex. Outermost part is called cuticle. The medulla is 2 to 3 layers of epidermal cells. Cortex, several layers of epidermal cells. Cuticle, single layer of keratinized epidermal cells. All these cells are consisting of hard keratin and melanin pigment granules. All these cells filled with hard keratin and melanin pigment. Because of this The hair is brown, dark brown in color. Inner side, you can see this is the medulla, the central part of the shaft, the hair, medulla, and this is the cortex, then this is the cuticle. The cuticle of the hair and the cuticle of this inner epidermal sheath are connected with one another so that the hair will be present within the hair follicle. This is internal root sheath. This is external root sheath. All these things you can read, you can understand. The central part is called medulla. Peripheral part is called cortex. This outermost part is called cuticle. These are the parts of the three concentric layers of the hair shaft. Coming to the nails. Nails are nothing but cornified or keratinized plates. Like hair follicle, these nails are also nothing but keratinized or derived from stratum corneum. Cornified or keratinized plate mainly develops from stratum corneum of the skin. The location, the dorsal surface of terminal phalanx of fingers of hand and toes of the foot. These are the areas where you will have nails. Dorsal surface of terminal phalanx of fingers and toes. These nails have got three parts. The root of the nail, which is not visible. Body of the nail can be seen, and the free border of the nail. These are the three parts which are present in the nails. Root of the nail, body of the nail, and the free border tip of the nail. In this picture, this is the free border of the nail. This is the body of the nail, and this is the root of the nail. It is not visible. The body and the free border can be seen clearly. This is the root of the nail. Here you can see body of the nail. This is the lateral nail fold, and this is the lunula, and this is the cuticle. All these things we can read from the book, but these three main parts, free border, body, and root, should not forget, it is present over the dorsal surface of terminal phalanx of the fingers and the toes. Coming to the three parts of the nail, the root of the nail is the proximal part of the nail, which is covered by a fold of skin which covers the root of the nail, that is called eponychium. The eponychium is the part of the skin which covers the root of the nail. The body of the nail, the body of the nail, which is present above the skin, that is nothing but nail bed. This is also part of the skin which is present below the body of the nail, that is nothing but nail bed, which develops from stratum basale and stratum spinosum of the skin. The stratum basale and the spinosum of the skin which forms the nail bed, there you will have matrix cells. The germinal matrix present here, pluripotent stem cells will be present. They gives rise to nail. They gives rise to nail. The free border of the nail, that below the free border of the nail you will have another skin beneath the free border of the nail, that is called hyponychium. There are three parts concerned with the other three parts. Root of the nail is covered by eponychium. Body of the nail covers the nail bed, and the free border of the nail covers the hyponychium. This is also skin. This is also skin. But nail bed also derived from the skin, but from the stratum basale and spinosum. Basal layer is the germinal layer. There you will have a germinal matrix. It gives rise to nail. In this picture, you can see this is the terminal phalanx. This is the free border of the nail. This is the body of the nail. This is the root of the nail. This root of the nail is covered by the skin fold that is called eponychium. Below the free border, the skin is called hyponychium. Below the body of the nail, this pink color area is called nail bed. In this picture, you can see this is the terminal phalanx. This is the body of the nail, free edge of the nail. This skin is called hyponychium below the free border of nail. This skin fold which is present above the nail is called eponychium. These are the different parts of the nail. These are the different parts of the nail. Coming to the clinical importance. These are the some of the clinical conditions of the skin. One is dermatitis, another one is albinism, another one is vitiligo, another one is acne vulgaris. The dermatitis, the itis, itis. The suffix itis indicates inflammation. Derma indicates skin. The study of skin is called dermatology. The dermatitis means the inflammation of skin is called dermatitis. That inflammation can be seen as red and itchy rash. Whenever you have dermatitis, you will find the rash which is red in color. It is always associated with itching. This is very, very important. In this, here you can see this is the thigh, this is knee, this is the leg. This red color patches represents the rash. It is always associated with itching. There are number of reasons for dermatitis. All those things will be discussed in the clinics. At least you should have the clinical importance of skin. The most important thing is dermatitis, inflammation of the skin. It will be manifested in the form of red, itchy rash. Coming to the vitiligo, the patchy discoloration of the skin, hair and mucous membrane. The patchy discoloration, the entire body will not be discolored. You will not find discoloration throughout the body. But some areas, there is a loss of normal color of the skin. That is the brown color or dark brown color or black color, whatever it is, in different areas, the skin color will be different. The patchy discoloration of the skin, hair, and sometimes mucous membrane. It is because of loss of melanocytes. The skin color is because of melanocytes, because of melanin pigment. Some areas there is a loss of melanocytes. Those areas, this white color patches will be present. This patchy discoloration of skin and hair due to loss of melanocytes. This melanocytes are responsible for the color of the skin. This is the normal color. This black color is the normal color. This white color, this patchy white color patches are because of lack of melanocytes in those areas. That is called vitiligo, is related to the melanocytes. Melanocytes developed from neural crest cells. They are not surface ectoderm, but they are developed from neural crest cells. Coming to the albinism, vitiligo is the patchy discoloration. Usually it involves skin, nails. But albinism means the total discoloration. Here you can see this is the normal color of the individual. In this individual you can see it is a genetic disorder. There is no melanin production. If you take these individuals, it is a genetic disorder. Genetically, there is no melanin. That means congenital absence of melanocytes or melanin production. It leads to the white color. It is not patchy discoloration. The entire body becomes white in color. And no color of the skin, hair. Usually it involves the eyes. Eyes also will be included in this condition. Skin, hair and eyes. This is the normal individual. This is the individual suffering with albinism. Albin means white. That you have to remember. The term albumin indicates albinism. Albin means white in color. No color means no regular skin color. That will be replaced by the white color. But these people are not white race. That you have to recognize. They are not white in color, but they are white compared to the fellow person. Because of congenital absence of melanocytes, there is no melanin fragment. This is called albinism. Coming to the acne vulgaris, nothing but pimples. It is related to the hair follicles. Sometimes the hair follicles will be blocked. The sebum will not be excreted or it won't come out. Those conditions are called pimples. It may be represented by pimples or black heads or white heads or pustules. Pustules means the pus filled. These are the pustules. There are different forms of presentations of this acne vulgaris. Acne means pimples. It is related to the hair follicles. Usually the teenagers and young adults suffered from this pimples. It is related to the hair follicles and sebaceous glands. The sebaceous glands and hair follicles are responsible for this condition. Usually occurs over the face at the age of puberty because sebaceous glands under the control of hormones. Coming to the tumors of the skin. The tumor is nothing but it is a new growth. Normally it is absent. In normal persons it is absent. Tumor, nothing but neoplasia. Neo means new growth. Plasia means growth. The tumor or new growth because of increased or excessive proliferation of the purposeless immature cells. That is called tumor. The new growth due to excessive proliferation of purposeless or immature cells is called tumor. There are two types of tumors, benign tumor and malignant tumor. And the benign tumors, you will see the growth. but they will not destroy the surrounding structures. Only the growth can be seen. These are not life-threatening conditions. These will be removed for the cosmetic problem. Otherwise, there will not be any problem with this benign tumors. But in the skin, 100% no problem. The malignant tumors, nothing but cancers. They will destroy the other organs by spreading through the lymphatics and through the blood vessels. These are life-threatening conditions. Benign tumor is called squamous papilloma. Papilloma, the suffix voma, O-M-A, voma indicates benign tumor. Fibroma, benign tumor of fibroblast. Osteoma, voma, benign tumor of osteoblast. The carcinoma, the suffix carcinoma indicates the malignant tumor of epithelium. Carcinoma, malignant tumor of epithelium. There are three types of malignant tumors present in the skin: squamous cell carcinoma, basal cell carcinoma, malignant melanoma. These are the three common cancers which occurs in the skin. All three are dangerous or life-threatening conditions. The voma indicates benign tumor of epithelium. For the time being, carcinoma, the suffix indicates malignant tumor of epithelium. And this is the forearm. There you can see the growth. This is the papilloma, squamous papilloma. Why it is called squamous papilloma? Because the epithelium is squamous epithelium. The benign tumor of squamous epithelial cells. The only one variety, that is called papilloma. The papillae means finger-like projections. Over the surface, this projection is called papilloma. Because of squamous epithelium, it is called squamous papilloma. The malignant tumors, first one is squamous cell carcinoma. I told you. It is a malignant tumor of squamous epithelial cells, mainly keratinocytes. The keratinocytes are the predominant cells present in the epidermis or the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. The predominant population of cells are keratinocytes. The tumor arising from those keratinocytes is called squamous cell carcinoma. This is the side of the face. This is the external ear. This one is the growth. This cauliflower-like growth. Usually this squamous cell carcinoma will be present like cauliflower-like growth. It is a tumor, it is a malignant tumor. This is the side of the face. Face is lined by squamous epithelium. Hence it is called squamous cell carcinoma. Carcinoma represents malignant tumor of epithelium. The basal cell carcinoma is a malignant tumor of basal cells of the epidermis. In the epidermis, you will have 5 layers. The innermost layer is called stratum basal. Any tumor arising from this basal cells of the epidermis, those cancers are called basal cell carcinoma of the skin. It is usually present in the form of ulcer. The squamous cell carcinoma present in the form of growth, cauliflower-like growth. Basal cell carcinoma always present in the form of ulcer. It also usually occurs in the face, usually below the eye. This is the basal cell carcinoma of skin. Most of the people, they will neglect, they think that is an ulcer, but it is a cancer. Coming to the malignant melanoma. The melanocytes which are present in the epidermis. This is the malignant tumor of melanocytes of the epidermis. Hence it is called melanoma. The malignant melanoma. This is the tumor arising from the melanocytes which are present in the skin. Because of melanin, it is black. The tumor is present in the form of black color. It is a black color growth. Our moles will be present sometimes. That moles very rarely will become tumors. It is a dark black in color, black growth because of presence of melanocytes. This is the malignant melanoma. These are the some of the clinical conditions. The few conditions I have mentioned, but other conditions you have to read. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. With this, I have completed the skin and appendages of the skin. There are number of short notes, that means brief notes present in this skin. Appendages of skin, each one is an individual question that you have to remember. Once again, I am telling you, it may be a sweat gland, it may be a sebaceous gland, it may be erector pili, it may be hair follicle, it may be nail. Because of change in the question pattern or examination pattern is a competency-based medical education. At least you should know something about each and every structure. Something about each and every structure. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult to attempt the questions. But if you take the questions, not all, but the few questions, the unexpected questions are coming in the examinations. At least to face those unexpected questions, you should know something about at least nail or hair, something about sebaceous glands, something about sweat glands, something about hair follicles or erector pili muscles. If something, some clinical importance about, so that you can manage. Just something is better than nothing, like that. Instead of leaving the question, if you write something, you will get the minimum marks, so that very easily you can go through the examination. But in the next class, I will start the nervous system, the basic idea about the nervous system. Epithelial tissue over, the connective tissue over, and the third thing, I think muscular tissue over. But in the practicals, we have covered muscular tissue. The fourth basic tissue, that is nervous tissue. In the next class, I will discuss about the nervous tissue. If you have any doubt, you can give message so that we can discuss during the class. It is very, very difficult to discuss your doubts. If you have any doubt, you can call me. And also, if you want this PowerPoint, if anybody wants the PowerPoint, and send your email ID so that I will provide this PowerPoint. If anybody wants, there is no compulsion. If you want, I will give you. Otherwise, you can go through the textbook, so you can read whatever you like, but you get some knowledge and go through the examinations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.